Hey guys, welcome to this week's very special edition of Chewing the Fat. Today I have with me the one and only Irwin Thomas. You may know him as Jack Jones from Southern Sons. What's going on, freaks? Yeah!
Freaks, yeah! How you going?
Good.
Nice to be here. You know what, man? It's actually nice to be chatting with you in this. I mean, we're mates. Like we go back a long way, so it's interesting to be. But you know, you've been a big stand for me during this process, so it's nice to be. It's nice to be able to be here, and you know, I mentioned to everyone that I have the Vault Series 1 out. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, the Vault Series 1. Get it now while you can.
I'll try. For the next 2 weeks, Indiegogo.
2 weeks.
Anyway, that's fine. I just thought I'd throw that in just for hilarious.
What's been happening?
Well, where do I start?
You're looking good.
Oh well, you know, on the business side, I'm feeling. Look, yeah, we don't have to talk. This isn't about business, really. For the last, you know, this whole thing for me started out of a conversation with you and a frustration of mine for years of, like, you know, seesawing with my weight and getting so frustrated that I was just about to, you know, blow a gasket. And it's funny because during this COVID time, a lot of people have said, "Oh yeah, I've put on the COVID pounds." Don't worry about that. I already put them on. Mine were pre-COVID pounds. Like,
yeah.
And you know, I got out into my new place, and you know, I was working. Reg was coming out. We were going for it. Was eating less. Nothing was happening. Wasn't losing any weight. And you know, we had a conversation about it, and you know, you got me started, and mate.
I think what actually happened was
I'm grateful to you for doing it.
I sent you the pics of the before and afters, and you said, "Holy shit, what have you been doing?"
That's yeah, that happened. That's true. Yeah, I was absolutely, mate. I couldn't believe it. Like, and I mean, I must have said this to you. Like, I got to get in on this. Like, I got to, because it's it just got to a point where I was just so frustrated. And of course, everything I did out of that frustration didn't work. Like, because then you just don't, like, I just gave up the idea of caring about what I was eating, because, like, who cares? It doesn't matter. If I have one bowl of soup or eat all day, it doesn't matter. Nothing changes for me anyway. So what's the point? But when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, I've got to have a conversation about it, because, you know, it's been an extraordinary transformation, man. And I'm loving the journey. Look, I'm early days still. Like on the physical side, there's been a big transformation. I'm absolutely stoked. I feel lighter. I feel way more energetic. I feel like the sleep that I get is better.
How's your shoulder now too?
All the things. What was that?
How's your shoulder now? Because I remember early on you were saying about you were having dramas with your shoulder.
Yeah, look, both of my shoulders still crunch a lot. However, I used to wake up in the middle of the night, and this isn't uncommon, like fairly regularly, almost crying. I've got pretty good pain threshold, but I would wake up in such discomfort. And that was one of the first things that I noticed when I started on phase 1, which I'm still on. But that was one of the first things that I noticed, was a lack of inflammation, not just externally, but clearly it's an internal lack of inflammation as well. And also my energy levels throughout the day. Before I started, I would, you know, I'd hit a wall, man, like bad. Like most days I'd have a nap.
Yeah, same.
Just because I couldn't stay awake. I'd be in the studio, like, trying to do something, and I'd be like, I couldn't focus. I couldn't think clear. And, all these things are quite, they compound.
Mm.
That, and, like, I attribute a lot of that to this time as well for me, because, like, generally I'd just do something to distract myself, or I'd have people that I could distract myself with. But because I'm pretty isolated, I don't really have that out here. So, one thing just leads to another, and in the end, you just. I'm generally not a guy that has much down, as in downtime. Like, I'm a pretty happy guy, but I would get frustrated with my ability to be as productive as I'd like to be, because of how I was feeling most of the time, which was pretty ordinary. And to get back to your question, my shoulders, they hurt for most of my waking hours, and for most of the time that I thought that I was sleeping. I don't think I was getting very good sleep either, because, like I said, I'd wake up in pain, like just almost in tears, just like doing everything I could to try and like release them so that I could just get back to sleep, and it would be temporary. And for anyone out there who knows me, that I love my sleep. I love it. And for my voice, it's important for me as well, like, to get good blocks as a singer. That's really important for me to be able to do that job. Not everyone's like that. I've got mates that can sing on no sleep, and I have envied them my whole life, but that doesn't change for me. However, the inflammation side of things, and I used to have this persistent kind of wheeze, and every morning I would, and this because we've spoken about it, but this constant cough thing.
Same thing.
And and a lot of right. And a lot of that has if not, a lot of it's really dissipated. I mean, it's hard. It's almost incomparable. Well, it is incomparable difference.
Yeah. I've noticed.
My shoulder probably hurts more when I eat 4 protein bars.
I've noticed with more singing that if I destroy my throat a bit, it'll be there, but not like it was all the time. I used to get comments all the time of people saying, how freaking annoying it is talking to you on voice messages, because the whole time you're like between the whole thing. And I know, when we've sent voice messages, you're the same. But like now I would have expected you to have done that 5 times, and you haven't done it once.
I know. I'm only thinking about doing it now because we've been talking about it.
Talking about it, exactly. It's just such a habit. You just get.
And the other thing is, as a singer, that's like one of the worst things to do to your voice. Like, talk to any singing. I mean, no, but it's never mattered to me because I'm not a singer. But I guess what I'm saying is I never knew the potential consequences of that physical action, like how super bad it is for your vocal cords, because basically you're like smashing them together, like they're just going like, bang.
Right.
These tiny 2 little fragile little folds, like, which I've never given much thought about. But when I got sick at the end of last year, when we were on tour with the Suns, and I got cooked halfway through that tour and lost my voice, and I lost it for like 6 months. I thought that I'd really busted it. Actually, that time probably contributed a bit to how I got here.
Yep.
Or how I got to where I was before I got here. Because I was on pretty heavy. Well, look, my ENT basically said to me, "Don't tour." He goes, "You've got to stop singing now." And I go, "Mate, I'm in the middle of a Suns reunion, like 30 years coming, mate. you know, so I was on pretty high doses of steroids for a period of time.
Mm.
And I think when I did that, it, you know, I stacked on a few pounds and look, mate, I've got a Mediterranean gene as well. You know, we love it's eating. Here's something that I've discovered through this whole whole thing. And I know I've discussed this with you before. Well, I've got something in my mouth other than my tongue. Anyway, one thing that I just discovered was, excuse me, that I thought that I always ate like as a form of comfort, because we've talked about this. And I remember you saying to me, oh, well, lucky you. You only eat like to soothe yourself. I eat because I'm happy, because I'm sad. And I was like, actually, you know, that's not entirely true for me. Like, I'll eat to celebrate. I'll eat to commiserate. I'll eat to procrastinate. You know, if I didn't want to get to something, I'd make a snack or make another portion of lunch and you know, it's just been a really insightful. I mean, I wouldn't. There's no way that I'd sit here and tell you that I've got it all figured out. Like, I know less than I knew when I started, but I still know more than I you know, did about my eating. You know, I've definitely learned a lot about what sort of attachments I have. You know, this isn't my proudest moment, but when I was a smoker, that was probably what I did when I used to smoke.
Yeah, right.
And it's probably why I was so skinny. Not skinny, but well, yeah, I was. So during that period of my life, that's probably a contributor.
Just substitute one for the other. Instead of eating, you were smoking.
Yeah, and of course, the side effect of having a smoke, apart from feeling terrible, which is such a weird thing, because I used to think, does everyone feel so awful when they have a cigarette? Because I don't feel, I'd be having it, and I'd be thinking, oh God, I feel a bit sick, but I'd still do it. Like, and ironically, there's a similar emotion that I would associate with, maybe not when I had lunch, but maybe when I had, you know, my second dessert. a similar feeling of like, why am I doing this? Right. Like, you know, there was a sense of,
I can never do it.
I don't know if it's gluttonous.
I can do it. When I was younger and used to go to parties and stuff, and you'd be half cut, and someone would bring out the cigarettes, and it wasn't too bad then, because your senses are dulled, and your care's gone to the wind, and you just we'd smoke a packet a night, and you'd be just like, and you wake up. I'd wake up the next day and go, well, I smoked a packet last night. Surely I can smoke now. And I'd put one in my mouth sober and go, how do you do that? How did I do?
Oh, yeah.
Could not even make myself do it.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing, right? So it's an insidious drug, and I must say, I'm very, I mean, I haven't had a cigarette for years now. I can't remember I remember the last time. I remember the last place that I had one. I remember the last cigarette that I had, but I don't remember when it was. I just, it's funny. Like, people go, so how long has it been? And I go, I don't know, since the last one. Years, obviously. I haven't even had a drag. Like, I haven't even wanted to do it. Like, the other thing is when I gave up, my voice was funny for about a month.
Yeah.
It was the weird thing about smoking for me, and that's not really about the diet or anything, but I could do things to my voice like, and I mean, we've hung out during that time for me, where I, like could just hammer my voice, like just hammer it when I used to smoke.
Mm.
And now I've just discovered that when I don't smoke, I prefer my voice. I like it more, but I have to be more
Careful with it.
conscientious and careful with it. Yeah, it's a funny thing, and that's not a bad thing at all. Like it means that I've got to look after myself. One of the great things about being on this, being on phase, well, it's just embarking on this. One of the great things about embarking on it is I haven't had a drink since I started, because it's not part of the protocol. I didn't think of the implications of that. I live on my own, so I don't think about, like, I'd never drink by myself. That's a policy that I have. Even when I was in New York and stuff, I'd drink every night because I'd be out in bars or whatever, but I don't drink on my own because it's just,
I'd be at bars
I
on
don't
my
like the,
there were other people there, so it was all right.
I know, it's ironic, but and I think the other thing is the association of just sitting at home and like getting cut by myself always used to frighten me a bit.
Yeah, right. I had no problem in doing that.
No, well, I think I know that I know my. I think
you sort of know what's going to happen.
I've become a bit.
Path.
I've been a bit more aware of my potential, good and bad. So, I know my potential to go. If I like something, so this experience has actually been really good for me because I've had to kind of self-discipline. For some things, I'm really good at it. Practice sessions, showing up on time, being a, hired gun, doing, learning other people's stuff, recording my own stuff. Like, I'm pretty good at getting up and getting the job done, and like, yeah. But for other things, it's been a bit more of a challenge. And I think when it comes to that sort of lifestyle, drinking and stuff,
real easy to get. It's real easy to do. As soon as someone sees you, they want to buy you a drink.
I know. And look, I guess the benefit of this, I mean, I'm in Victoria, so there's no going out and drinking anywhere anyway, or someone buying you a drink. So I guess I have been in that situation. I'm not saying I'm never going to drink again, but because I probably will. But I definitely, I mean, it's just been really nice to be super clear and experience that clarity through this process. I just feel lighter on my feet.
You said something about the the album you're going to have coming out and all that sort of stuff. What's being on the protocol and everything, if anything, has made available as far as that's concerned?
Well, it's meant that I've been able to work like more. Like, it's allowed me to get up and just keep a real focus. Like it's allowed me to, because I've got a few things on the go at the moment. We haven't started our conversations, but we haven't started our physical conversations. Jeff Jenkins is writing my book, right? So I've got that going on. I've got the Vault campaign. I mean, I said to him, "Here's my book. Once upon a time, there was a guy named Jack Jones, aka Irwin Thomas. No one cared. The end." Like, I said, "I can write it. You don't even need to do anything, but it's going to be fun, and it's the next 18 months of my life, and it's the next 18 months of just talking about, my life. So there'll be a good. I think there'll be a great catharsis in that. So I've got that. It's just kind of come up. I've written 25 new songs with Reggie and Phil Tercio, and I've written a couple with Reg as well. I've done this, I've had a little bit of involved in collaboration with Pete Drummond and Jeremy Barnes with their new project. Plus, I've been involved with playing on Pete's new kind of pop stuff as well. Plus, I've done a duet with the Wolf Brothers that's going to come out some stage. I don't know when that's going to come out, but I've just heard the mix of that. It sounds fantastic. I'm super excited. So what it's made available is, and then there's the Vault series of all the back sort of the unreleased material that we do in this Indiegogo campaign, but for.
Yeah.
So, and that part of that, putting that all together has been, writing blurbs on all of the songs, some short, some long, writing the actual blurb about like the genesis of it, I suppose. It's required a fair bit of brain, a fair bit of brain power, left and right stuff, and creativity access. And in my previous life before this, that would have been a real struggle to keep all of those things happening. I'd be like, I can't do more than one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. And so I think that just the newfound energy and sense of well-being, lightness on my feet, and just seeing a progression. And also, you being a stand for me doing it in the beginning, you made that possible. And I love you for that, because, we're mates and everything, but that's another thing. That's a different, there's having your mates, and then there's having mates that are a real stand for you in your life and really want what's best for you and want to help you. And I love you for that, mate. I really do. I love you. I just, that's a big thing for me. So, look, I think all in all, it's, and I'm only, mate, I'm early days. I'm a baby when it comes to this, because I'm yet to really apply it fully in my life. I'm phase one. Like, there's 4 phases. I'm not even in the second half of the game yet.
What was interesting though is
we
were talking just before we started recording about how hard it was. When you don't strictly adhere to the plan in phase one, and then you were talking earlier on about how it didn't really matter what you did. If you ate this or you ate that, it didn't really matter. You didn't lose any weight anyway. So what was the point? You might as well just eat what you want. But on the first phase of this protocol, you really do see how bugger all really can upset the apple cart. So that you won't put on weight, but when you come in to give your report for the end of the week of this is what I was last week and this is what I was this week, you're like, crap, I only ate like 2 extra protein bars and I haven't lost any weight. Like, no wonder it's hard to lose weight,
Mate, I know exactly what you're talking about. And even before I started cheating with the protein bars, which was late in the piece, the one thing that I really, really noticed about my being accountable to you with the food diary was, even when you think you are adhering to the protocol, like, I'd say to you, man, I've lost like 1 kilo this week. And you'd be like, what did you do that was outside of the protocol? I'm like, mate, nothing. And you're like, well, what have you been snacking on? Mate, I've been eating kale. You've been eating kale. I've been eating kale. You've been eating raw kale. I've been making kale chips. Like, and here I'm going along eating, this much kale in kale chips, thinking, hey man, you know, I'm doing the right thing. I'm smashing this. Like, and clearly, you know, or the best one was when Dino and I had our little thing.
Oh, wow.
And that was to do with taking extra supplements.
Yes.
Because there's the protocol supplements, and I generally take other supplements, and I was, you know, we were chatting about that, and there was a week or two where I didn't see any results, and I can tell you those 2 weeks I ate to the T of the protocol,
Yeah.
but I did take extra supplements, and those supplements somehow interrupted or inhibited it working. And that I found fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what? If you were somebody else saying that, I'd find it hard to believe.
Yeah.
How can you have X amount of calories a day, and just because you take 8 extra vitamins a day, like,
Yeah.
how can you not lose weight?
There's a couple of times when I hadn't lost as much, and Dean would say, well, come on, let's pull apart what you're doing every day. And one of the things I had a lot on the first phase was gout in my foot, because the body being in ketosis, the ketones are very acidic. So it just triggered the gout in my foot really quickly, you know. And he was like, well, you know, just take what you take for the gout and just monitor what you're taking. And for the 2 weeks that I'd first started taking that, same thing. I was down to like half a kilo or a kilo a week. And it's like, how come I've only lost a kilo? I've been on the money. Have you cheated at all? Like, no. He's like, well, what else are you taking? Only the gout tablets and the Nurofen, and, you know, for the inflammation and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is.
Yep. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. And I guess a part of this process, I'm assuming this, I'm not saying it to be so, but I'm assuming that part of it is, like, you have to manage certain things that you've got going on. Like, okay, you know, I really, really want to lose this weight. Okay, there's number. I'm committed to losing this weight. I want to lose this weight. B, you know, I'm really committed to somehow implementing this into my life somehow, because you can't live on phase 1. I mean, you can, but what? There's no point.
You don't want to be, no.
It's not. It's a false sense of how you're living. Yeah. So, but you also have to be responsible to other, you know, ailments that you may have. You know, you've got to try and be responsible to things as well, and try and make it all work. And I guess, you know, part of that is seeing the impact of you know, just trying to balance how much of it you can juggle and get through. You know, how much of that you can get through before, like, so that you've managed the pain of the gout, because that shit's painful. It's uncomfortable, and it doesn't, you know, talk about unworkability.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to do a guitar session when both your shoulders are caning you.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to concentrate when you've got, like, incessant, relentless discomfort. It can make you go a little cuckoo. Yeah. It's definitely had that impact on me, you know, like, so you've got to try and manage that somehow too, I guess.
Yeah.
But in the end, the real revelation is, right, so these few little things can have such an impact on your progress. So, of course, then you sort of go, right, so my goal then is to just smash this for the least time that I have to get to where but the thing is that my goal weight has changed. I would have said to you, maybe, and look, no one else is going to see my before and after photos except you and maybe Dino, but because
Didn't
that's
I
just
mention I was
life.
putting
But
these up as part of the video, the before and afters?
bastard,
Maybe I should have said
bastard,
something, right?
bastard. Yeah. Oh, what? You mean the one that was on like before we started? so, so but now that I'm down to a certain weight, there's and I don't think it's because I don't think I'm like body obsessive or anything like that. I've remembered when I was, say, 59 kilos, which is pretty. That was like you'd be struggling to pinch anything around here, like at 59. I think my target was 66.6 because we call that the number of the feast.
The number of the feast.
So I'm a kilogram away from that, but I think that was more just a number that I'd set because I'd seen myself, on a trajectory that, and I'm pretty happy with how I mean, I didn't want to.
Great, dude.
Not that I've ever really, not that I've ever looked at myself in the mirror and gone, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" but I'll tell you what I have done. I have looked in the mirror and gone, "Oh,
yeah."
Like I have had that. I've fat shamed myself into losing weight.
Yeah.
And and when I'm out working and stuff, guess what? A lot of people are, and this isn't my request, but there's a lot of photos being taken, and they end up in places. And guess what? I get to look at them forever because they get to be on people's Facebook pages forever, and they get to be on this website and that publication and blah blah blah, and this, TV network that was showing so and look, okay, it's a few extra pounds. It's not the end of the world, but it's more about how I well, it's how it definitely. I definitely don't like looking at that guy, and it's not about it's the feeling that I think, because I know what that guy's feeling. Like I know what, because that is me. That is me with those extra kilos on,
And not to mention the prelim of having to go for, a TV interview or get to a gig and know there's going to be photos taken and dealing with that to start with. It's not like you deal with it just looking at the photos afterwards or just seeing yourself on TV afterwards. There's the, how do I accommodate this beforehand as well?
Mate, if I were to come clean, which is what I'm going to do right now, like so many things I've wanted to just not do simply because of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So, what's become available to me? Like big stuff. It's ironic because I can't go and do any of that now. I can't go to Sydney and be on the TV. I can't even leave my bloody state at the moment. However, what it means is that when those things come up again, and there'll be something interesting and hopefully inspiring to chat about other than my new record or a set of shows that I'm doing. Because, that's the business, but the life is what's happening in between. And that's the majority of what's going on for us. The struggles, someone, can't remember who it was that said this to me. They go, the pain is real, but the suffering's optional.
Yes. Yes.
So when I think about it and I think about the pain, I go, yeah, the pain is real, but you don't have to suffer. You can choose to not suffer.
Yeah.
So I think that's but just it's been a constant anxiety for me, and I understand the feeling of helplessness and not being and feeling like everything you're doing doesn't work. I mean, and I'm sure that is some way tied into this insulin production situation that your body's in, and You know, the whole idea of not eating doesn't work. Like, you know, you're just messing up another part of your metabolism, another part of your. And for me, you know, I've got stuff in my families that should be responsible about my weight and my circulation and stuff like that. You know, so I've got plenty of, apart from the aesthetic, you know, I've got plenty of other legit incentives to take better care of myself. And, you know, I'm going to be 50 soon. And I talked about that commitment, you know, about going into my 51st year with not the same kind of crap going on that maybe I've been living with. So it's all kind of part of it. But, you know, it's early days yet, mate, but I love you for being a stand for me and making it happen, because, you know, in the beginning, I know for everyone out there, it's been a very, very challenging, tough time, and some more than others. But, you know, look, even me just not being able to earn, not being like, that's been a real, now, thankfully for me, I could throw myself into the creative side and really, and I've been lucky, you know, that, you know, banks have been understanding and people have helped work with me during this time. But I'd much prefer to be making my own money, and not taking any help from anybody, you know. And that's been a massive issue, like a challenge, a hurdle for me. But I've been able to throw myself into the creative side, and that's you know, that's. But I know that there are people out there that haven't had that other thing to throw themselves into, and it's hard. It's hard. So
I was just talking to someone at a
you
gig
know,
that I came from today, and he was like, you know, he's lost a bit of weight as well, and we're talking about the being in isolation and all that sort of stuff. And I said to him, you know, luckily I did, like, it was the perfect time for me to do what I did over that isolation period, because if I was left to my own devices at home, pretty much by myself all day, every day, not being able to go anywhere, doing the same things as I was doing before isolation, it wouldn't have been pretty at the end. You know, it was an ideal time for, and that's testament to the actual science behind what we've been doing as well, is that I actually literally sat on a couch for 3 months and lost 23.5 kilos. It's not like I could do anything much. It was right in the smack bang.
That's amazing.
Being in lockdown, so it's not like I could get up and go for walks or jogs or, you know, whatever. I did way wound back versions of what I'd already been doing prior to starting the protocol, which was it was easy as. But I mean, even then, even ramping it up and doing what I was doing before the protocol, that hadn't made any difference anyway. So it might have been helping me from putting it on so quickly, maybe, but it definitely wasn't. Definitely wasn't losing weight because of it. So, you know, as hard as it is for people to take it on, or they want to know more about it first, and that's a big thing we've been getting a lot lately. I just need to know more about it first. And whether it suits me and all that sort of stuff. It's like, there's just never a better time to be doing it, because you're doing the least you've ever done, really, in your life.
I sent a picture of my dinner to a mate of mine who said to me, I want to know more about this sort of thing, you know. I said, oh, cool. So I sent a picture of my dinner, and he goes, is that it? He goes, I'd need to work up to that. And I said, no, you just need to start that.
Yeah.
Like, there you go. There's your out. There's your out straight away. Oh, I need to work up to it. Okay. Well, when's that going to happen? I can tell you, based on the things that I have to work up to, that there's things that I'm still working up to from 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, I know that's pretty kind of hardcore. Like but it illustrates. Look, I, I, I found myself. Here's one other thing that I've found that's happened for me during this time.
Mm.
I've committed to things and then had to figure out how I'm going to make it happen.
Mm.
Like, I've just gone, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I've said, yep, I'm going to do it. And then I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? How? But the committing to it and starting it was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But I get it, because the thing that stops me most of the time is the fear of what it could be and overcomplicating it and then not starting.
Mm.
And then finding the reasoning and the excuses and whatever. And I get it, man. It's look, I was super intimidated. Like, so I've just kept it simple for me. And you can keep it real simple. I mean, I've only eaten like 3 vegetables during this whole time and 2 different types of protein. But that has worked for me because every day, you know, and again, you know, I live on my own. So I can't have a huge fridge like stocked with 20 different fresh veggies.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I won't get through them all, even though there's a lot. And look, when I say I took a photo of, and my mate was like, I haven't been hungry.
But well, I
haven't.
It's one meal out of the rest of the stuff.
That's what I meant. Yeah, I wanted to address that, because that someone can listen to that and go, well, there's no way I'm going to do that. Then fine, you know. It's no. I've never eaten so much.
Yeah.
It's just that in that one meal, because mate, I'm eating cucumbers like they're going out of. I reckon I'm putting companies out of business. And lettuce and organic celery, man, I've been smashing it and loving it. Like, and you're talking about a guy who loves crisps, mate. You know, I'd be lying if I said I, you know, haven't missed cheese and crackers and things like that. But it's not forever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's giving these things up, it's just a time. It's just, and you know what? However long you're on, and this isn't me talking to me. It's going to sound like it is. It probably is as well. But you know, it doesn't matter how long you're on phase 1. You'll get what you've got to get out of it, and then when you do, you'll go on to phase 2, and your life will just keep going. You know, I've asked you this question. You know, oh God, mate, what happened when I start doing gigs again, and I'm not gonna fucking know what to do, and oh wow, poor you. You're gonna have to take a bloody thing to make your shakes with, and your shake stuff, or if you want to have a few like, mate, how hard is it to go and buy a broccoli, you dope? Like, I just, you know, but it was intimidating when I first saw it. But you know what? Here's the other thing. The conversations, the coaching, the mentoring, whatever you want to call it, it's really important to have someone to, and when I use the word accountable, one thing and we're mates, you know, so we can, there's the freedom to say whatever you want to each other. Yeah, it's okay. You can say whatever you know, call me out on whatever you want, and I'll just take it because no, you love me, you know, and that's where it's coming from. And there's never any make wrong in it. Like, so I'm not afraid to tell you if I've eaten 4 protein bars one night. Like, I'm not scared to go, mate, you know, that's just what happened that day. The deeper question is, you know, and you asked me this, mate, there was that week that I just smashed. There's been a couple, but there was a trigger point where I'd called you and I'd said I'd eaten all this, I'd just gone I think I went me crazy of the protein bars is 4, but that's a lot considering I was only supposed to eat 1.
Mm.
But doing that for a few days in a row, and I remember you saying to me, "What happened that day?" And I was like, "Nothing."
Yeah.
And then about a week later, I remembered.
It's so funny though. Before you go,
mate.
it's so funny when you say that. When I say, "Well, so what happened that day?" He's like, "Nothing, just normal." And I was like, "All right, well, I'm out. I've got nothing to give you."
Yeah, well,
keep going.
Well, in the spirit of discovery and wanting to, like, I kept thinking about it, but it's amazing how a funeral didn't come up for me as something that could have been significant, and the fact that I couldn't go to it,
Mm.
and the fact that I had to watch it on the internet. God, I'm going to burst into tears. You know, like, I couldn't be there for my mate and all that sort of stuff. You know, like, but the fact that that didn't register to me as that's just me getting on with life. Like, hey, no, what happened? Nothing. Just another day at the office, mate. You know, like, I don't know, Bird. What happened? What happened, bro? I don't know. And then a week later, I'm like, hey, you know what happened? It's like, you know, mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
You know, so that stuff is really important. Like, to have those, but to have someone that you can share that with that isn't going to say, "Oh, well, you dickhead. You should have known that you bloody had a funeral that day for a start. So you should have known not to eat anything else that day. You bloody moron. You knew that was going to screw up your bloody protocol or whatever." You don't have that. It's not that kind of relatedness and interaction. It's supportive, and it's like, there's no make wrong. It's like, this is what happened. Okay, well, what else happened?
Well, and just to notice that
for me it was yeah, that's right. Well, for me, nothing had happened for a week until I realized that something had happened.
Yeah.
So to be able to have that forum where you can just be open and honest and candid about failing at times, you know, it's not that. Look,
well, the failings where the gold is. The failings where the gold is. If you just went through and smashed it and nothing happened and you never strayed from it and it was never a problem and you just kicked it out of the park and so, you're not going to get anything out of it. It was just something else you did. Big deal.
It's true.
The failings that give you the gold.
Yeah, that's right. I got nothing. The failings that give you the gold.
It's the failings that give you the gold. I'm going to paint in that.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for dropping in and having a chat with me. Good to see you. And be good once the lockdown finishes and we catch up again. And
mate, I'll be straight up there. I'll come up for the weekend.
By then you'll be having large soups and...
Can't wait for that. I better get on to phase 2.
Better get on to the old phase 2 of Del Boca Vista.
Right. I'm ready. Bring it on. Let's go.
Cool. Thanks, brother. I'll see you again. And next week, I think we'll have a couple of scientific background pieces with Dean in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for them. Thanks, man. Talk soon.
Will do.
Love you, dude.